ये मीठी मीठी, ये प्यारी प्यारी, ये राज दुलारी, ये चलता सूरज, सूरज की किरणें, सूरज की किरणें, ये बहता दरिया, दरिया की मौजें, मौजों में रवानी, मेरी जिंद जवानी, फूल से पूछा तो फूल भी बोले, बुलबुल से पूछा तो बुलबुल बोले।
A sudden and momentous decision. India's government says it's revoking special privileges granted to Indian-administered Kashmir. The opposition is furious. It's a change in the constitution with far-reaching consequences.
Using the powers vested under the third section of Article 370, following the recommendation of the Parliament, the President announces that starting from the day the President of India will sign the declaration and the day when it will be published in the government's gazette, all the sections of Article 370 will cease to hold good, except for Section 1 of the article.
We have taken an historic decision, he said tonight, promising Kashmiris full civil and legal rights, pledging investment, new roads, new railways, a new airport, jobs, scholarships, democracy, and an end to terror, which has claimed 70,000 Kashmiri lives in the past 30 years.
His political party, the BJP, which is from the right end of the political spectrum here, they've never made any secret of the fact for decades, in fact, that they wanted this particular special provision, which they removed earlier this week, and by exerting more control on the affairs of Indian-controlled Kashmir, that they wanted it to go away. They always thought that the fact that it was there was a problem. They've said again and again, Mr. Modi's party had it in its manifesto when they fought the recent general election in which Mr. Modi was re-elected for a second term. So they've not made any secret of the fact that they thought that this was a problem. They thought that it had to go.
If you see what's happened in the past few days, it's really unprecedented. Internet and phone services are completely cut off, very hard to reach anyone there. Last night, major politicians in the region were placed under house arrest. In the past week, tens of thousands of extra troops have been sent there. Section 144 is imposed, which basically means that more than 5 people cannot gather in one place at a time. So protests, public rallies, meetings cannot be held. And with people not being able to communicate with each other, it's very hard right now to find out what the reaction is like. But it's quite clear that the government was expecting protests. Every time Section 370 or anything about it has come up, there have been protests in Kashmir. So, you can be certain that there is anger simmering in many parts of the region, although it's not on display yet.
जो लोग 370 के पक्ष में वकालत करते हैं, उनको देश पूछ रहा है, अगर ये अनुच्छेद 370, ये आर्टिकल 370, ये 35A इतना महत्वपूर्ण था, इतना अनिवार्य था, उसी से भाग्य बदलने वाला था, तो 70 साल तक इतना भारी बहुमत होने के बावजूद भी आप लोगों ने उसको परमानेंट क्यों नहीं किया? टेम्पररी क्यों बनाए रखा? अगर इतना कन्विक्शन था तो आगे आते, परमानेंट कर देते.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivered an Independence Day speech today that hailed the decision to remove the special rights to India-controlled Kashmir. He said the move is a bid to wipe out corruption, nepotism and injustice in the disputed territory.
Mr. Modi said that his government had the political conviction to right a 7-decade-old wrong in Kashmir that prevented the region's integration with the rest of the country. He also hit out at critics at home who've called the revocation unconstitutional.
Mr. Modi said it was done in the larger interest of the nation and ensured that one constitution applies to all of India. 11 days ago, India revoked Article 370 in the part of Kashmir it controls, effectively stripping it of its autonomy.
Indian security forces have kept the region in lockdown, and almost 250 regional leaders are either under house arrest or have been detained.
A week and a half on, residents are running low on essentials. Communication and internet links remain severed, cutting the Muslim-majority region from the world. And the state's governor has confirmed that this will continue.
Now, he says New Delhi does not want to give that instrument to the enemy until things settle down.
The measures put in place have ensured that there has been not a single loss of life. I repeat, there has not been a single loss of life or serious injuries to anyone during the course of maintaining peace and order. We have prevented any loss of human life despite concerted efforts by terrorist organizations, radical groups, and continuing efforts by Pakistan to destabilize the situation. Keeping in view the evolving situation, as well as the cooperation of the people in maintaining peace, we are now taking measures to ease the restrictions in a gradual, calibrated manner.
A BBC investigation has uncovered allegations of brutal beatings and torture by soldiers in Indian-administered Kashmir. It's been 25 days since the Indian government withdrew the region's semi-autonomous status, leading to a clampdown on dissent and thousands of arrests. The Indian army has described the allegations as baseless.
Soldiers came here, we are told, looking for violent protesters. 13 men were allegedly pulled from their beds, tortured and beaten.
लात भी मारा, डंडे भी मारा, पावर भी लगाया, केबल से मारा. हम पूछ रहे, हम बोल रहे थे हमारा कसूर क्या है, कुछ नहीं सुना, हमें किसी की नहीं सुना, न कुछ बोला, सिर्फ पीटते थे. हर जगह मारा, हर जगह, जिस्म पे हर जगह मारा. पावर टच इसलिए देते थे वो कि हम मारने से बेहोश होते थे, फिर वो टच देते थे, उससे हमको होश आता था. फिर वापस मिट्टी डाली मुंह में, चलाओ मत, चलाओ मत. चलाते क्यों हो? हमने उनको बोला भी कि आप मारो मत, गोली मारो, गोली चलाओ. हम खुदा से मांगते थे कि गोली लगाए, क्योंकि उनके जो वो टार्चर बर्दाश्त नहीं होता था.
The people of Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir are apprehending the worst. Some have said that Kashmir echoes with the silence of the graveyard. Others contend that it is a lull before a storm. I shudder to mention the word genocide here, but I must. With respect to the Genocide Convention, the Kashmiri people in the occupied territory as a national, ethnic, racial, and religious group of people face grave threats to their lives, way of living, and livelihoods from a murderous, misogynistic, and xenophobic regime. One international civil society organization based in the United States has already issued a genocide alert, proclaiming that the situation in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir has crossed the 10 stages of the genocidal process.
Mr. President, one delegation here has given a running commentary with offensive rhetoric of false allegations and concocted charges against my country. The world is aware that this fabricated narrative comes from the epicenter of global terrorism, where ringleaders are sheltered for years. This country conducts cross-border terrorism as a form of alternate diplomacy.
There are no angels on either side of this conflict. There's a lot of blame to apportion on all sides. But the fact of the matter is what we're talking about today is the revocation of this special status. It's Article 370. Within that is embedded something called Article 35A. Not to get too detailed, but what does that do? It basically, it's called a permanent residency law. And it exempted outsiders, non-Kashmiris, mainly Hindus, the fear being, to come in and settle on land, to buy property, and essentially to change the demographics. That's what the critics now accuse Modi's agenda of being. He's not saying it explicitly, but change the demographics of the region in a way that will favor Hindus and basically change a region which is India's only majority Muslim state.
this recent, assault on Kashmir's identity, because what Kashmiris think about it is that it is an existential assault on us, on our identity, on our political history. They are now claiming that Kashmiris are not even Kashmiris, that they do not have any right to their own homeland. So these are beginnings of what many, including I, have see as some sort of a settler colonialism and a possible, ethnic cleansing in Kashmir.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi reached Houston in the United States from Frankfurt just a short while back. The Prime Minister was received by Director, Trade and International Affairs Christopher Olson and other officials. U.S. Ambassador to India Kenneth Juster and Indian Ambassador to U.S. Harshvardhan Shringla were also present at the airport to receive Prime Minister Modi.
मेरी जिंदगी जवानी मैं मर भी गया तो मेरी कब्र पे लिखना तुम गोली मारो हम तब भी मांगे तुम डंडे मारो हम तब भी मांगे तुम छर्रे मारो हम तब भी मांगे तुम बैलेट मारो हम तब भी मांगे तुम नाके लगाओ हम तब भी मांगे तुम छापे मारो हम तब भी मांगे तुम घेरे बनाओ हम तब भी मांगे हम लेकर रहेंगे ये प्यारी प्यारी ये राज दुलारी ये चढ़ता सूरज माऊ से पूछा तो ममता बोली बहनों से पूछा तो इस्मत बोली भाइयों से पूछा तो गैरत बोली मैंने रात से पूछा तो तारे बोले तारू से पूछा तो चांदनी बोली मैं दिन में आया तो सूरज बोला पहाड़ों से पूछा तो जंगल बोले जंगल से पूछा तो नदियाँ बोली नदियों से पूछा तो नहरें बोली नहरों से पूछा तो दरिया बोले दरिया से पूछा तो सतलज बोले सतलज से पूछा तो रावी बोला रावी से पूछा जन्नाब बोला ये लफ्ज़ है प्यारा ये लफ्ज़ है प्यारा शोभा की अमानत शोभा की अमानत कुरान की अमानत कुरान की अमानत आमर की अमानत आमर की अमानत सज्जाद की अमानत सज्जाद की अमानत पंजाब से पूछा पंजाबी बोले मैंने सिंध से पूछा तो सिंधी बोले खैबर से पूछा पठान बोले गलगित से पूछा गलगिती बोले कश्मीर से पूछा कश्मीरी बोले बम्बई से पूछा बम्बई भी बोला दिल्ली से पूछा तो दिल्ली बोला आगरा से पूछा तो आगरा बोला न्यूयॉर्क में आया न्यूयॉर्क भी बोला न्यूयॉर्क से पूछा न्यूयॉर्क भी बोला शिकागो पहुंचा शिकागो बोला मैं डैलस आया तो ऑस्टन बोला मैं ऑस्टन आया तो ह्यूस्टन बोला ह्यूस्टन भी बोला ह्यूस्टन भी बोला मैं जन बोला है हम लेकर रहेंगे ये वादा हमारा यारों सुन लो गद्दारों सुन लो आरएसएस सुन ले आरएसएस सुन ले बजरंग दल भी सुन ले शिवसेना भी सुन ले मोदी तू सुन ले अब साथ में तू भी सुन ले हम लेकर रहेंगे हम लेकर रहेंगे ये वादा हमारा ये वादा हमारा माओ की प्यारी माओ की प्यारी बहनों की प्यारी ये आई आई वो आई आई वो आई 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 धीरे बोलो
Namaste, Sri Satyakal Yali Madhut. We may be in smaller numbers than those who are inside the NRG, but let us be sure that history will record us as being on the right side of history. Every time, every nation, every person has a choice. The choice is whether you're going to be with justice or whether you're going to be with injustice. Whether you are going to be with oppression or whether you're going to stand against oppression. Whether you are going to seek freedom or you're going to support those who are crushing freedom. India was a country that had Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians all together. But today it is in the hands of a person whose ideology assassinated Mahatma Gandhi. If you look at the history of Nazism and look at the history of RSS, it is basically the same ideology.
70 साल से एक और बड़ा चैलेंज था जिसे कुछ दिन पहले भारत ने फेयरवेल दे दिया है। आप समझ गए? ये विषय है आर्टिकल 370 का। आर्टिकल 370 ने आर्टिकल 370 ने जम्मू कश्मीर और लद्दाख के लोगों को विकास से और समान अधिकारों से वंचित रखा था। इस स्थिति का लाभ आतंकवाद और अलगाववाद बढ़ाने वाली ताकतें उठा रही थी। अब भारत के संविधान ने जो अधिकार बाकी भारतीयों को दिए हैं, वही अधिकार जम्मू कश्मीर और लद्दाख के लोगों को भी मिल गए हैं।
Indian troops have martyred another Kashmiri youth in occupied Kashmir. The occupying forces targeted the civilian during a cordon and search operation in the Creeri area of the Baramulla district. The troops have sealed all entry and exit points of the area. Police say the operation is still underway in the vicinity. Last week, 5 Indian soldiers were killed in an attack during search operation in the same district of the valley. The occupied valley has been under New Delhi's crushing curfew and communications blackout for the past 384 days.